After the overall screen change, the next most important aspect of a game is the HUD, the heads-up display. When we look at a game's HUD, we look uniquely at each screen configuration. For widescreen, we look at whether the HUD maintains its original aspect or whether it's stretched. An easy way to visualize this is the mini-map in an RPG or an FPS. When it's a circle on a 4:3 aspect ratio, does it stay a circle in widescreen or is it stretched into an oval? For ultrawide, we identify 4 different behaviors. A HUD with unstretched objects and fills the 21:9 aspect, we call that optimized. A HUD that stretches improperly is simply labeled as stretched. Some HUDs will maintain aspect for individual elements, the minimap is still a circle, but maintain the 16:9 aspect ratio while filling the 21:9 horizontal width. In these instances, the top and bottom of the HUD end up getting cut off. This is labeled as unusable. The last designation for a 21:9 HUD is obstructs view. This is for HUDs that maintain their internal aspect ratio. Again, the minimap is still a circle, but the HUD is bounded on screen within a 16:9 box and all of the elements fit on the screen. This designation leaves some discretion to the reviewer and the community at large. Some HUDs are bounded within the 16:9 box, but their minimal footprint or nature doesn't impact the overall gameplay experience. In this instance, a 16:9 HUD on the 21:9 panel can still be considered optimized. The HUD for multi-monitor titles follows a similar schema to that of 21:9 ultrawide. A HUD whose elements maintain their internal aspect ratio and is bounded by the center monitor with its 16:9 aspect is labeled as optimized. A HUD whose elements are stretched is simply labeled as such. This implementation almost always has the HUD elements in the outside corners of the Eyefinity or surround configuration. As with ultrawide, a HUD whose elements are partially or totally off screen is labeled as unusable. With multi-monitor, we also have one designation that allows for some user discretion. For multi-monitor, it is, quote, position effects gameplay. This is for a HUD that maintains the aspect of its internal elements but spans the entire multi-monitor resolution. The reason we allow for some user discretion is that some games rely more on the HUD than others. For a game that makes heavy use of the HUD, spanning it across 3 screens impacts the overall experience as the user has to continuously pivot their head from left to right to see all of the HUD elements. For a game with a minimal HUD, or that has a majority of its elements on the center screen, a spanned HUD can still be considered optimized. It's a rarity, but it happens. The HUD on a 4K Ultra HD retains the optimized, stretched, unusable, and position effects gameplay designations, and it adds one more, tiny. This is for games whose 16:9 HUD has sprites or other graphical elements keyed for 1080p. When the resolution is quadrupled to 4K Ultra HD, these elements appear tiny on the screen.